Well, I'm really excited to share today's show with you. It's a guest podcast episode, and it's with my great friend and longtime friend and great friend and someone I work with called Vickie Helm. She has a show called The Coffee Break Show, and she interviewed me back in October. We cover a lot of ground like old friends do and really boil it down to living life on purpose. And so we cover all sorts of different things, including how to reduce the suffering that you experience, how to find yourself when you're lost, how to be on purpose and what that means, and living a life without resistance and in the moment. I'm very excited to share it with you. After the intro, we'll get right into it and go over to the Coffee Break Show with Vickie Helm. Hit it, Kim.
Welcome to the Be a Brilliant Human podcast. You're in the right place if you're a growth-seeking being who acknowledges the challenges and delights of your humanity on the path to an ever more conscious life. If you want to feel inspired to love and accept yourself, to feel free to be and express you in all your brilliance, if you want to truly value yourself and others and feel energized and alive both at home and in the world, then sit back and take a breath as you explore and grow the brilliance of your beautiful human self with your host, the father of non-personal awareness and creator of the MPA process, Joel Young.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you've joined us today. I got to tell you, I'm so excited. I have one of my favorite people on the planet, one of the closest, wonderful people on the planet. I want you to just meet Joel Young for a second. And I'm going to get to the show in a minute, but I'm so excited. I want to let you know right now you're on the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. This is the Coffee Break Show. I'm Vickie Helm. And if you're new here, we talk about tips, tools, techniques, inspiration, motivation, and those things that create thrivability in your life. And I just want to welcome you to the show today, Joel Young. Thank you for being here. I know there's two Joels. You have any Joels there?
Okay, my Joel.
I'm like, I'm hurt now. We have no reverence for today at all. We are past business partners, very close friends. How is it in the UK this evening for you?
It's dark, dreary, and I love it.
So listen, if you are one of the people who are always with the show, welcome. Thank you for being here. Go ahead, put your name down, be part of the conversation. Today is, I told you earlier this year that I promised I was going to bring you only those people, the best people I knew that were going to help you with the times we're in right now and was going to help you be, in the moment and help you deal with the stress. And today I have whom I believe, the guy that helped me, center when I was all discombobulated, before I went on stage, before I went into the room, before if I was crazy in a meeting, he was like, let's get this together here. And his depth of knowledge, I want to tell you about. He has been a transformational expert on him. I mean, on every level, a transformational expert for a couple of decades now, since I haven't known a time when you weren't. Hey, Anna, I know that's you because of that red heart. Today is a show you're going to really, really love. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here today. So glad you're jumping on board. But I want to tell you about him from my perspective, okay? This guy is multi-talented. He's a songwriter and a musician and had a band and everything back in the day. He is also somebody who is an expert at Brandon Bayes' The Journey. He was the head trainer there, actually was the trainer for Brandon Bayes as well. He's been all over the world training, and he also is an expert in Byron Katie's work. He does that as well, but he has also created his own work. It's developed in 18, 19 countries, 20? Yeah. How many countries?
I've been saying 18 countries for about 12 years now, so I haven't counted, but yeah, it's spread around the world. Yeah, definitely.
Yes. definitely been everywhere around the world, at every country. And his flavor of healership is blended with humor and joy and love and just absolute fun. This is the person, if you have trauma, I mean, real life trauma. You guys, nice to see you on. I just want to pop over here and say good morning, Donnie. Nice to see you on. Hey, Risa out in Texas. Good afternoon. So great to see you. Robin just popped in, said, hi, I love you, Joel. Hi. Yeah. So
love you too, Robin.
So Joel, I just want to get to the point. I want to be really honest right now. And I think the world is, kind of pandemic crazy right now, but we were just talking about the United States, and it's all around the world. People don't know what to do. There's a level of stress. There's something called pandemic fatigue. There is, people are just on edge right now. And with the civil unrest, with the everything else here, I think that stress management might be something we want to talk about today. But before we give them a start, can you tell them, what you do and, what it means to start being a brilliant human being? You said stop chasing enlightenment and start being a brilliant human being. Let's talk about that.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think I'm going to start with the world feels crazy. And I think that's just a reflection of a process that we're going through in kind of in our human consciousness. And part, I think, of why I'm here now in all of this is because I've been through that sort of spiritual awakening journey. You and I were teaching awakening stuff back in, what was it, 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that I've done and people I've worked with have focused on enlightenment as some kind of, I call it like the Enlightenment Olympics. It's like you get your badge if you get there. And I kind of, I got my gold medal, sat in a cave, wore a pashmina, and did satsang and all that stuff. But what I found is that, like everything else, it comes and it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're left with is the human, just the human reality, the coal face reality of living in a world which is full of madness and wonder and joy. And I think so my focus and the podcast, which is called Be a Brilliant Human, came out of that. How can I help people just to embrace their humanity, especially those people who are on that kind of path of wanting to be more aware, more conscious, especially people who serve other people in that realm? Because I found working obviously that's been the realm I've worked in for 25, 30 years, that a lot of the medicine excuse me, becomes the poison when all of that judgment or that goal-oriented stuff comes in, and you don't allow yourself the humanity and the deliciousness of humanity. If if you want to be super healthy and super yoga or whatever, if that's your genuine passion, then there's going to be no ripples in it. But if you're trying to be super healthy and super yoga or whatever the thing is, and there's resistance in it, then you're trying to be something that you think you're supposed to be. And that, I think, is most of the problems that we have in our personal lives, is trying to be something that we think we're supposed to be rather than just being ourselves. And in the sort of spiritual and personal development world, there's so much good in it, but a lot of what I see is the problem is that we do that. We think we're supposed to be something. And the idea of being my authentic self gets pigeonholed as kind of this, I am myself, the vastness, the boundlessness, which, that's a lovely piece of you. But who you are when you're doing the dishes probably isn't that. Or who you are when you have to go and do the 9 to 5 probably isn't that person. These are the human parts of you. And if you can learn to operate in your humanity, and in fact, the thing is to include your humanity in that wider self, then you get to play in the enlightenment. You get to play in the, you know, the ego. It's like, so what? It's an ego. We've got one. Get over it. It's like,
yeah, we got
make the most of it. and then I think we start to have a sense, which is one of the key things for me, is a sense of humor about it. I mean, this is a ridiculous experience to be having, you know, all this fleshy stuff and, you know, all the stuff that goes on. But if you can kind of, without dismissing it in any way, but just laugh, maybe not at it, but with it, laugh with the experience of it. And I think that's what, I guess that's what I bring to the whole COVID pandemic, political, I'll put that word in, situation is like, it's a pantomime. It's, and the degree to which, if you're a lobbyist or something, then that's your passion. Great. You're in there and it really matters and you're passionate. Fine. But I'm just some guy who helps people have better lives. So to me, it's a pantomime. But I'm there with people for whatever, when you can help connect someone to their passion, like in a real way, not a tick box way, then all the lights go on, all the spanners in the work start to drop out, the grease goes in, things start to work. But mostly, again, coming back to it, it's like what our issue is, I think, at its core is simply thinking it is something different than it is. And being a brilliant human.
Wait a minute. Go say that again. Did you hear what he just said? Thinking it is different than what it is. That's oh God, that's worth $1,000 right there. Bing. Keep going, my friend. That was good.
About me. So yeah, that's what, you know, if being a brilliant human, if I boiled it down to one thing, it's just getting ruthlessly honest, and not in like, it's just real about what really matters to you, that you matter, that what matters to you matters. And from there, you know, then of course there's going to be hurdles to jump and all that stuff, but it becomes a lot more fun.
You know, I want to stop right there. There's a couple of things that you said that I think is so important. That is the difference between success, true success, and centeredness and not. One is then finding out what's important to you. Not finding out, not what happens is we go out and we start seeking. We start seeking. As long as you're seeking outward, you're finding somebody else's truth. And when we seek inward, that's when you get to see what's important to you. And I want to talk about this. Anna, thank you. Yes, I love that. Learn to be ourselves. When we remember to be our true, authentic selves, we forget about what they told us we should be. Yes. Now, one of the things that I think is super important about what's happening in this transformation is that there's so much discursive, deliberate propaganda and misinformation. It's forcing you to stop seeking outwardly. If you seek outwardly, you're going to be more stressed. You be watching every news show, every talk, everything, and be led everywhere by something else other than your own beingness, your own center. And so, Joel, you just said to me, how I want to know, when you say finding out what's important to yourself, if you're very lost, how do you find the self in you? What can you do to come center and start asking yourself and hearing from yourself? Not we ask ourselves, then we go outward to look. How do we ask ourselves and stay inward and look? And what are the maybe 3 things that you could tell us that help us identify when we've actually connected with ourselves? Like, if you're disconnected, how do you know you're connected to your own inner self?
So I think the first thing to say is you've got to acknowledge that it's a journey, that it can happen very quickly. I mean, MPA is proof of that. It's a very simple process that facilitates it very quickly. But for most of us to have it as a sustainable part of our lives is a matter of practice. So I always say, start where you are. That's the biggest thing. It's like no point saying, where do I want to be, unless you know where you are. So it's I'm laughing. I know what I'm about to say. It's like I'll try and no, I'm going to use a British one because I know the geography, right? So it's like you want to get to Manchester, which is like the middle of the country for us, up in the north, and you think you're supposed to be in London, right?
Oh,
right.
yeah.
So then you go, yeah, I'm in London. I'm in London. Look at me, I'm wonderful. I'm in London. Turns out you're in Norwich, which is over on the east coast, right? So you get directions from London, where you think you are, to Manchester, and you follow them. It says go 300 miles northwest, and you end up in Edinburgh. And you go, what the heck? What
How did I get here?
So unless you acknowledge that you're in Norwich, if you say, oh God, I'm in Norwich, then you get directions. Well, then go 200 miles west and 100 miles north, and then you're in Manchester. You get where you want to go. So you've got to start with really acknowledging where you are. And that takes sometimes a humbling. You know, it takes the humility. It takes that ability to go, you know what? I've been really crap. Or, you know, I've been telling myself I'm supposed to get this book written or get this thing done, but I just haven't done it. In fact, if I'm really honest with myself, I don't even want to do it.
Yeah.
In fact, the thought of doing it makes me feel sick and angry. Now, this is acknowledging where you are. That doesn't mean you might never do it. It just means you can't move until you really acknowledge the truth of what's going on. And there's I remember a client of mine, this is quite a long time ago, but it's such a good illustration of this. She came to me and she said, Joel, I want to be happy. I was like, okay, tell me about that. She said, happy this and happy that and happy this and happy that. And it just sort of, you know, how this thing that just sort of came through me. And it was like, I just literally said to her, you don't want to be happy. And she's like, you can't say that. You're my therapist. I said, look, I'm not saying isn't some wonderful thing that you want to be, but you're chasing this thing called happiness and it's making you miserable. So if you could just stop, you know, had to acknowledge where she was. Yeah, I don't want it. Had to acknowledge that. Then stop chasing it. Took a bit of work, but just stopped, create some space. Now just drop it and get curious, wonder, literally go, I wonder if there was some wonderful, delicious thing that I wanted, what might that be? So she sat with it and then she went, peace. I want peace. Yeah. And you could feel it. Bang. That was the truth of it. And I said, how does that make you feel? And she said, happy.
Yeah.
It was like,
yeah, it's that simple.
It's that simple. Stop, drop, and wonder. That's the process.
Stop, drop, and wonder. And, you know, it's so interesting when you're saying this, because I remember when I first started out in business back in the US, I remember trying to find something. Find something to do? Like, what's my purpose? It sent me on the search. Because I felt like I was doing my purpose, and now suddenly I'm back in the US and I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? Why am I here? And that being open, wonder, and curious, the first thing I found out was there's no such thing as finding your purpose. You're purposeful and you're there in the moment. When you're there in the moment, you are in purpose. Even if that moment is doing the dishes or doing the laundry or doing something that is just a task that may be done. If you're there in the moment, you're there in your purpose. When you find meaning in business, like, the reason I do this is because I want to serve humanity. It doesn't mean you have to be the best server in humanity. You have to be the in the moment server in humanity. And so when some people feel stressed and they can't find their center, like they're out and they realize they've been honest with themselves, and now they are like, okay, I really don't want to do this and I don't want to do that. I can't find this. I don't feel purposeful. I don't know what I'm saying. Right now, a lot of what people are saying is, I don't know what to do. Like they think you have to know what to do. And what can we say or help them, or how do you help them just be in the moment with that? I don't know what to do, because under that is usually some sort of fear about something.
So you can go down the rabbit hole of looking at what the fears are, trying to clear them out and all that stuff, all good stuff, but is fraught with potentially getting lost in the quagmire and spaghetti of personal development. Or
That's right.
right, we've been there.
Millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars. And, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think where I come from with what NPA stands for non-personal awareness. It's the acknowledgement there's something greater than ourselves, but and yet includes ourselves as part of the process or the experience of life. So the first thing is, I don't know what to do. Great. There's the truth right there, because nobody does, right?
That's right.
I don't know what to do. So really, if you, I'm going to kind of go quite deep into this. I'll try and explain it really as clear as I can. But if you were to come to the place where you realize that, as Delamitri, their famous band, once said, we're always the last to know, right? that's actually neurologically the truth. We're always our cognitive brain is the last thing to know what's actually happening or what we're going to do or what we are doing, right? Mm-hmm. If you can really, really sort of contemplate and meditate, that's the essence of non-personal awareness. It's like we're always the last to know. If you can come into the humble place of knowing that, then you realize that all that we do is the expression of what we've already received. Now we're in receiving mode, right? Now we're in a place where we're going not out there, what do I do? It's like, what's being done through me?
Yeah.
and you become the witness of this wonderful, ridiculous, joyful, brilliant, crazy life extreme called Joel, in my case. Mm-hmm. Then it's a matter of going, oh, it becomes a discovery. In a discovery, there it's actually part of the deal that you don't know what to do. You get to discover as you go along. You get to go, what's the next inspiration? In NPA, we use a word called animation. So NPA is a simple 6-line process. The tricky bit, which is so simple, it's so simple it's tricky, if you know what I mean.
It's super simple. I like it.
Simple, it's tricky. But what you do is you're listening for the animation. It's what pops. So this animation word, it comes from the idea that we are animated by the divine. Mm-hmm. Everything that is moving is moved by the divine. But there are fruits on the tree that are more ready to drop than others.
That's right.
When you're available to listen for this animation, it means you come to learn to trust and listen to what is already moving through you.
That's right.
And then if you meet it, then you become like Moses, because then you were just there at the right time with God when the seas parted.
That's right.
The physical mechanism, and I'm not trying to diss the miracle story of that, but there's always a physical mechanism for these miracles, right? Was there. But the art of that miracle making is that you're just there at the right time with you and God and the bigger picture all happening together.
And I want to stop you right there, okay, because it's so powerful. And I have this beautiful, beautiful memory of a conversation with you that we had. And I don't remember we were in California or here or London. I don't remember when you told me the story, but you were at an event at it was Byron Katie, and you were in California when this happened. And that moment when you see things, it's not that it's always pleasurable. It's in the moment. Are you able to react? So you walk into your hotel room, you look out the window, and you see a fight breaking out on, I think it was a golf course. And at that fight, you look out and you don't judge the fight, not, oh, it's bad, or, oh, that's wrong, or, oh, yay, this fight. But you notice in the moment, some guy gets clobbered in the head with a golf club, cracks his head open. There's blood everywhere. And you suddenly know it's your job to grab the towel. It's your job to grab ice and whatever. It's your job to go out there and bring that towel to that person. You know you're safe. You know you're not going to get harmed. You just know what your job is in the moment. And that's the power of awareness he's talking about right there. And I remember thinking to myself, you know, hey, Amber, nice to see you on. Joel, Amber, Joel, you guys should
Hey,
know each
Amber.
other. Anyway, you get to go ahead and go take that out. You knew exactly what your job was. It wasn't to give any words. It wasn't to give, it's like, here's a towel. Are you okay? Do you need a phone? Here's the, you knew exactly what that was. And you knew when to back out of that scenario, and your part is done. Your part was done. And when you just said that to me, when you just talked about being in that moment, that memory flooded me. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what he's talking about. And when you're in the moment, it doesn't mean you're all of that moment. You can serve a piece of that moment and then back out as well. You know what I'm saying?
I do, yeah. I mean, if this is one of the things, like with MPA, the MPA process, people meet it, you can download it for free. It's 6 lines, simple process. And
I want to go over the whole process.
Okay. Let me just say what it says. Like it's really, and people will meet it in that level where, yeah, it will help you change your beliefs, change your lives. And that's what it does. But I'm always saying to people, just come and do training, hang around MPA, come and spend some time bathing in the energy that little process delivers. Because the secret side effect of MPA is it teaches you to live an animated life.
Yes.
It teaches it. That's why I say, because I teach it to therapists and coaches and stuff. And I say, do you want no more resistant clients? Because, you know, it's like, as a therapist, right? It's like you come in the day and you're like, I love my job, but I'm knackered. That's because there's agenda in the way, which is the sort of the nemesis of present awareness. It's the nemesis of animation, really, agenda. And so if you come and spend time, then you'll learn the practice. And it is simple, but it's a practice. You start to learn the discernment and the nuances.
Yes.
You start to, and it's not about clear. I mean, your stuff clears out the way, but it's not an approach that is about clearing out your history and doing all that stuff. It's like, that's good, go do that. But MPA is about really coming into a place where you live a life in relationship with, you could call it the divine, but that's got so much dogma in the mind.
Yep.
It's just listening to what's the most beautiful thing that's already moving through you and living that. And as you point out, it doesn't mean that there won't be challenges in life, but you shift your relationship to those challenges.
Instantly.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I want to let you know that I saw years ago when he first came out with NPA. And now I can just say to myself, and I'm willing to feel it. And bam, it goes there. Donnie, thank you for this. Where my focus and attention lie, I am. That is correct. And what happens is, if I could say it, NPA releases the I am. And the reason I like the I am is because it doesn't have to think. It just follows the moment. The moment tells it what to do, and it just kind of does that, and you move that ahead. It's a really great place. But can we go over the 5 lines? I mean, take us through a process together. I mean, the whole audience, everyone. Let's just take everybody through a process.
Okay. You can do as a group. The best MPA is done where you find what I call an animated cookie cutter, a keyword, phrase that's there. So you're going to have to be willing, Vickie.
I am. Let's do it.
To do it. So
let's do it.
There's 2 ways you can do it. You can either look at the yummy stuff, letting it in, or the yucky stuff, letting it go. So what feels like it's here for you today? If you
letting the stuff in, because I'm really practiced at letting go of the yucky stuff. I'm not very practiced at letting the yummy stuff in.
So then what are you not experiencing that you'd like to allow to come?
I think for me, I would like, how do I say this? More playtime. I don't want to be so responsible. I am responsible from morning till night. And I want to be able to go outside and play and recreate more, so to speak.
So just want to take a quick break. We'll get back to the coffee break show in just a moment. You can find out what was the thing that we took Vickie through the MPA process with and how that impacted her. But I wanted to let you know, If you want to hear more from Vickie and the Coffee Break Show, you can find her in the Facebook group. If you search for the Smart Life Club, or you can go to facebook.com/the Smart Life Club. Also, I want to let you know that if you want to find the show notes for today, you can go to www.beabrillianthuman.com/70, because this is episode 70. And if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you hit that subscribe button wherever you are. And finally, before we get back to the show, just to let you know that you can, of course, we're talking about MPA here, go to joelyoungmpa.com and you can get hold of the MPA process for free right there. And also, if you're a coach, therapist, change worker of any kind, then we are about to launch the advanced training. And the way things go with MPA, the way MPA is organized, is starts with you download the free sheet, then you come along and do the core training. That's really if you're someone who wants to use it in your own life. And that's the first start, if you are a coach or therapist, is to get it installed into your own system. And then next week, we're launching in readiness for MPA's 14th birthday on the 5th of February, advanced training. And this is where you get to learn how to use MPA with one-to-one with people in your practice or with people, friends, family. And really, we go in depth. You can find out more about that if you go to joelyoungmpa.com. And of course, there'll also be a link in the show notes, which is again www.beabrillianthuman.com/70 for today. All right, let's get back to the show. Fantastic. So in MPA, we would say you've just done a spew. The response to the question, you just talked, didn't think about it. You didn't go into sort of personal development analysis or anything else. You just went, you know what, this is what I really like. And interestingly, which often happens when people say they want to work on the yummy stuff, what pops out, which is the animated cookie cutter, is the yucky stuff, which was, for me, the way I heard it, was so responsible. So again, to put that in terms of animation, that's the thing that's the wobbly fruit on the tree that needs to go next, the divine order, right? Mm-hmm. So what we do is we take that, so responsible, and we just run it through the process. So I invite everyone to come along. If you're in a safe place, don't do it if you're driving, all that stuff. But you can just say the words out loud. You know, if your partner's behind you, just tell them you're fine.
I'm fine.
I'm fine. Yeah, or you're fine. Mm-hmm. And just to repeat the words after me. So Vickie, you repeat, and then the audience can just repeat with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Okay, so just repeat after me. This so responsible.
This so responsible.
This energy of so responsible.
This energy of so responsible.
This pure energy of so responsible.
This pure energy of so responsible.
Is not personal.
Is not personal.
This pure energy of so responsible.
This pure energy of so responsible.
Is not personal.
Is not personal.
This pure energy of so responsible.
This pure energy of so responsible.
Is not personal.
It's not personal.
And I am willing to experience it.
And I'm willing to experience it.
And now just be inwardly still. Just notice and allow what, if anything, is there. Could be something, could be nothing, could be an aha, could be movement, might be just nothing. It's all good. And when you feel some natural completion, just let me know.
Yeah. When you were saying it the third time, I could feel my body just go,
yeah.
Like I'm in my body again.
Beautiful.
And it feels peaceful.
So that's MPA. Simple.
Yeah, super quick, super brilliantly done, and it's easy. And I think one of the things that we've done that I think is so important to note here is that we have made self-development so complicated. It is unnecessarily complicated. Why? Because somebody benefits, they can monetize complicated. And when you get to the point where something is so simple that you empower yourself to just breathe through your own story and be able to go, hey, it's not personal. It's not personal. And I'm willing to feel it. That subtle moment that you do that, yeah, I know. The subtle moment, wow, it's that simple. And when you do this, what happens if you don't feel enough clearing? Like, let's say there's a layer where you're, like, there's another deeper. Do you just go through the same process again, the same lines?
I love that you asked this question, Vickie, because this is the thing, right? Our personal development, digging through our belief systems, digging through our stuff, has trained us that it's not enough. If we don't have an instant win, in NPA, I call them a subjective win. Your mind gets to have something that says, oh, I did it right, I got it right. So many times people have had literally no subjective win. They say the words, it feels like empty words, and then they walk into a different life. Literally, I had someone say to me, she said she was at a dinner party and it was all kicking off, arguments, just getting really gnarly. She didn't like it. Took herself off to the bathroom, sat down as you do, did the MPA process, and she stepped out and came back into the room, and she said she hadn't felt any kind of, oh, it's this thing or that thing or all of that stuff, which people often do. But she stepped out and went, how did that all resolve itself? But it did. It was like she stepped into a different universe, one where there wasn't all sorts of stuff happening around the dinner table, somewhere in that phase. Because again, if you think about non-personal awareness, if I was a quantum physicist, I'd say non-local awareness, right? They talk about non-local. It's activating something that includes the self but is beyond the self.
Yes.
It literally is doing that. So, and fundamentally it's working and shifting our sense of identity, which is the master of beliefs, emotions, and behaviors. So it's kind of crazy. So the question you asked there was, if I didn't feel enough, that's where you get the hell out of your own way.
Yes.
My favorite is do the process, get on with your life.
Look how quickly I tried to complicate it. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? This is the whole point right here. This is the whole point. What if it's so simple to be in that soul level, into that divine part of you, just so easily? That was an excellent, really excellent insight that you had there, Joel. I think it's so important because sometimes I think if we don't have a big burning, aha moment, or we don't feel that sense of glorious bliss all the time, we don't think we've changed, or something subtle hasn't happened to us when it has. So I want to talk about NPA for a little bit more, because I know a lot of people have gone through the NPA training. They've had big, huge changes and subtle ones as well. And I want to talk about, what has the NPA done for some of your clients? I mean, what are the testimonials or people who's giving you feedback? What have they said about the process?
So this is a 4-hour show then?
Well, just some.
No,
I like this tingles and peace. Yes.
Oh, good.
Look at that. Look at this. Really... that felt peaceful. Thank you.
Yeah. Don't underestimate those little bit moments of peace. That's what a really amazing life is made up of just a series of little moments of peace. Mm-hmm. But when it first, because the way it came about is I accidentally said a prayer. I was journaling and literally said, okay, God, have you got something for me to do? Let me know, and then the 6 lines popped out of me a week later. And I came from a training which was really about emotionally focused, history focused,
yes,
dialoguing and forgiveness.
Most of them
focused. And so that was kind of my training. So these silly little lines, I thought, well, they're just a nice little way to do a few things. Then I started teaching it or introducing it to clients, and I'd see all of these amazing miracles that I'd seen with the big, sort of earth moving processes. Yeah. So, but there were some things that really surprised me. Like the first time someone said to me, I used MPA and I had pain-free childbirth, I was like, you what?
I'm sorry. Could you say that again?
Yeah. Could you say that again? Literally, because the pain, or let me be really clear here, because there's been someone literally said no pain. I've had other people who said, I'm not saying there wasn't pain, but there wasn't that element of suffering around the pain. You understand the distinction?
Yes.
One of my
Yes.
key things in being a brilliant human and within non-personal awareness is that discernment of those subtleties. They make all the difference, right? So having an experience of childbirth, first one was like, literally, I didn't have any pain. It was like, oh my God. And other people obviously heard that story and were like, well, can I use it? Of course. Well, what's coming up, you're kind of doing a natural spew in that kind of situation. You can use the MPA process like a practice, and it helps come into that alignment, that animation. And so when I thought about it after, I thought, well, that does make sense. And then there's the other end of the spectrum with things like bee stings and headaches and all that stuff. Then there's someone told me they had 18 years of depression. It went away in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. She said she's just walking the dog and just was like, bang. And I think that the testimonial says, if anybody asked me, they wouldn't believe me. And I've had people say that. I literally have got a testimonial from someone who was bankrupt. Her husband was bankrupt. They've been bankrupt for some time and having real difficulty with the with the whole setup, the whole process of coming out of bankruptcy. There's all sorts of really challenging things to do. And she said she did one MPA on bankruptcy. She wasn't expecting to talk about it, but that's what popped out, did it. And she said over the next 30 days, she said, first of all, the deal with I don't know what they call, but the bankruptcy agency was done like next day. Okay, large sum of money, you can settle for this. It was like, 150,000 or something. And then they decided, her husband suddenly got this inspiration to sort of ask people for money. So he wrote this letter. They sent to one person they barely knew, who came back and said, have you got the money yet? And they said no. He said, well, I want to give you the whole amount, £150,000. That's about $175,000.
Yeah.
He said, there's one condition. And she said, well, we were like, yeah, of course we'll pay interest. Said, no. The condition is you take it as a gift.
Whoa.
I know.
Whoa.
It's like amazing.
It's like you get out of your way then, and you're in allow when you do the NPA process. You're in allow. And when you are in allow, something else can show up other than your belief system. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you one more.
That expect miracle kind of thing.
Yeah. Which again is in the realm of sort of physical healing. And this is Deb's, and her daughter's now, I don't know, must be about 13 by now, and is one of the earliest MPAers from very young. But when she was really small, 18 months old, she had a skin disease which they were told was incurable. And they come from South Africa. Debs was in South Africa and come back to the UK, and it flared up. And what can I do? What can I do? She suddenly thought, do you think MPA would work? So she just MPA'd in consciousness for Jasmine, who was like 18 months at the time. 5 days later, that incurable skin disease went away, hasn't come back since.
Wow.
So I'm going to now put a thing out here, because everyone loves the miracle stories, and they do happen. They do happen. But for most people, it's about a practice where those little shifts, just like Vickie just had, ongoing, lead up. And once in a while, you're going to get a massive breakthrough. But as you come in, we talked at the beginning of this show about alignment, about coming into that place where the spanner's out. You acknowledge where you are. You're not reaching. You're not saying, oh, now I need to have a miracle or I failed. If I do MPA and I don't get like £150,000, it doesn't, that's not thinking. I'm taking these and telling these stories, so it opens you to what's possible with these 6 lines. How could it do that? I mean, come and get some training. I'll tell you exactly why it does that. but the thing is just do the process, get on with your life. If it comes up, it's there. If it's animated to do it, and it doesn't, it doesn't stop you doing all the other things. They all have their purpose. They all have their place in the wholeness of things. MPA as a modality is one which heartily promotes collaboration, and diversity of approaches, diversity of mindsets. We have a whole multiple perspective philosophy that really rams that home. You know, it's something where, but take it. You can download it. You can go to my website. I don't know if Karen's putting it up there, but it's joelyoungmpa.com. Very simply, you'll see it. Just download the sheet for free. You've been through it. If you watch this show, you've got the words and you've had an experience of it. Use the words, and then if you feel moved by it and want to really step in deeper, then just take a look on the site, and there's some different ways to come and spend some time with me.
Yeah, and I will let you know, I have worked with him. I told you I was not going to bring anybody on the show I haven't worked with, and I have worked with him. Yes, I've worked with him with a business, but I mean, I've worked with him on my stuff as well, just because he's that good at it, and we're friends, and you can take advantage of your friend in that way and say, you know what, I'm stuck right now. What do I do? But if you working with Joel is very transformational for anybody who's serious about that kind of transformation. What I want to say, I want to hop in and say, I want to know. Thank you. Karen put up the download address for the worksheet, so you guys can get that. Go ahead and get that now. Get involved with Joel Young. This is really something important. So I want to know, how can they get involved with Joel? How can they get involved with you, my friend?
Okay, so that website, joelyoungmpa.com, is kind of the hub of where to go, and that you can find all the different bits. Also, do come and listen to the podcast every week on a Tuesday. A new podcast goes out. I think we did episode 55 went out this week. Good transformational number if you're into your numerology. That's a great way just to spend half an hour with me every week, and be in the energy of it. Download the sheet, try it out, have a play. If it resonates, come and get the offer that you get. Basically, if you download the sheet, I'll say, look, as long as you've done that, 75% off at this point in time. I'm not going to stick to that. At this point, for a short period, you can get the first training, which is called basic training, which will give you the rundown on why it does what it does, how to do it, and it'll give you a set of kind of the common traps I see that people fall into, and then just don't get the most from MPA. That's the best place to start with it. And also, of course, if you want some one-to-one, I do that as well. That'll be on the site. The only thing I think that, interestingly, it must be a bit relevant because it's like, talk about this, is Boundary Bootcamp. So one of the things that in personal development is, and certainly my experience of it, and a whole non-personal wellness thing, is what about the person, the human? And boundaries is an issue that I've really had to work on. I've done the hard path with boundaries, and I see it in other people, especially, again, I can see it a lot with people on the awakening path and the journey, because, if you go into the non-dual teachings, which is like this sort of I am nobody, I'm nothing, you can lose your boundaries. That's not a healthy thing for a human. True. So I created Boundary Bootcamp, which is a really full-on program. If you're ready to stop saying yes when you mean no, to stop being or feeling like a pushover in your world, doing yes stuff to things that aren't going on. And if you're that person, even if there'll be the front part. Let's get honest about where we are right now. There's the front part that says, well, I'm a nice, kind person, and that's what I do, and I don't mind helping people, and da-la-la-la-la. And inside, the truth is, you feel like you're neglected, not seen, you're frustrated, and much as you might want to have strong boundaries, there's so much garbage in the way that you feel like a bad person if you do it. Even those Guilty times where you set your intention and you're going to do it, and then suddenly, oh my God, you capitulate. And then when you do, you feel, you feel worse about yourself, and you start
so mad.
The Boundary Bootcamp program will take you through a 4-week process that will get you from really acknowledging where you are, untangling those really gnarly knots that mean that you have such a hard time with boundaries, building super healthy boundaries. And it's not about what do I think is a good boundary. It's about what is your boundary, what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And then the last week is a whole section about really training you, because once you have your boundaries, you've got to go out into the big bad world.
Yeah, that's the training ground right there.
That's the training ground. And so in the last week's module, it's really about how do you deal with the resistance to it? Because the truth is, there's going to be, if you're someone who's always been a people pleaser and you shift, you're going to meet resistance. So I'll give you a whole set of tools to deal with that and to work with it. In fact, there's one video in that week 4. I had one guy say to me that video, it's like a 45-minute video called 7 manipulation tactics and how to deal with them. And he said that was worth 5 times the price. That one right there. He said he cried. It took him 3 hours to watch it because he cried through. He would do one tactic, go, oh my God, do that. And I've been done to that way.
I wanted to pop in, and I just want to acknowledge this again. Having a friend who will lift you is such a blessing. Having a friend who's willing to confrontationally call you out both ways, we love each other very much, is absolutely a joy. Amber, you're right. So glad you have Joel as a friend. I want to tell you a story about Joel and I when we were on stage, and we would spend a day, like 8 hours, 9 hours teaching all day long. And at the end of it, he'd say, come on, let's go get a pint. And that meant a pint of cookies and cream Haagen-Dazs. And we would take that pint, and we would just take 2 spoons, and we would talk to each other and share a pint of ice cream with each other. Such glorious memories. If you haven't been, or you are just being introduced to Joel Young, go see, and you're like, okay, I got to get that boundary boot camp. There it is. It's right there. I can testimonial. His work is really as good as he says it is. It is absolutely wonderful. What I want to say to you for this particular show is there's lots of ways to be involved with Joel Young. Shit. Sorry. I'm like one of my best friends in the world, and I'm just like, Joel Young. His last name is Young.
It's a good job. I love you, Vickie.
Thank you. It is. See,
great.
She's laugh out loud. Isn't that what friends are for? I know, I'm pimping him out without his permission. He's like, okay, she's pimping me out. All right. This is, thank you. It is a perfect example of being in the purpose in the moment. I want to let you know, he's one of the people that I have honestly lived in the moment, in the present with, more than anyone else I have in the world. And I want to let you know something in front of everybody. I love you. You are one of the most terrific human beings and best healers, trainers, persons that I know in this world. And I think this world is a way better place because you're in it. I know it has benefited my life so very much. And I think you're crazy if you don't work with this man at least once. And I want to thank you for dropping everything. Yeah, here it is. Now, this is what I call living in the moment, listening to a great show like today. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for sharing so generously. Thank you for taking us through the process. Thank you for helping us deal with our own angst. And I want to let you know that I want to have him back on, but we're scheduled out to like way into next year. So, see, this is what's cracking me up right here. This is true for me. Joel Young is a brilliant human, one of my best friends in the whole world. Thank you for being on the show with me today. And I just want to say, if you want to leave one more thing with them, if you have anything else you want to say to them, and if you have a question, ask him now, because we're heading out the door with this. What would you leave our community with?
Well, first of all, what you just said in my direction goes both ways. And I think again, this is interesting. So I could go searching for words for your community, but I feel like, I hope they feel it.
Yes.
I hope in our conversation, as it's always been the case when we've worked together, and an energy happens that, again, includes us, but is beyond us.
Yes. And it's palpable to me.
And it's palpable to you. And I hope that some part of everyone who connects with this at whatever time feels that, and it connects them to themselves. Because anyone at any time that connects to this recording, this live, whatever you want to call it, is here now. It's part of it. There's a reason, there's a purpose. And it's just let yourself, that word is going to say bathe in it. And that's not me giving you a takeaway. That's you letting yourself have the takeaway you came for.
There. Thank you. I love you, man. All right, you guys, that's been the coffee break to show today. I know tomorrow you're going to be talking about it. There's going to be buzz going on. He's going to be talking to you in the Facebook group. For right now, I want you guys to have the most incredible day. Mwah! Peace out.
Thanks so much.
I'll see you later.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Make sure if you enjoy the show, make sure you go and tell someone. Remember, you can go and search on Facebook for the Smart Life Club and join in and see more of Vickie's shows. She's a fantastic person, a great friend of mine. And make sure you tune in next week for the next episode of the Be a Brilliant Human podcast with me, Joel Young. And all that remains is to cue the moo.